As a person that's studying, your history buff, as you probably would say, or like politics, international relations, what as you've like studied this, like how much have you found that's just not in the textbooks, like that's just not in public education, and like what would be some of the bigger events that are left out?
Um, all right, see, well, that's interesting. So, during like last year, like in 2020, I was very bored with COVID. So, like I was just going through like random stuff at home, like looking through like the old AP textbooks. Yeah, I was just like reading anything that like got mine for stuff. And interesting with that is I looked through, I think it was the AP textbook from 2015 when I took the class. There was like 2015 to 2016. So it was like the newest version. And so interesting that book, I'd say it was a pretty kind of like good overview, but interestingly, it didn't talk at all about the pandemic of 1918. Uh, so like that was, the deadliest pandemic in the country's history at that point. And it also didn't talk about, it was a textbook that went up to 2015 in its history, but it didn't also talk about Rodney King and sort of what was at that point the sort of, this large uprising against, police brutality. So I found, and especially in the year 2020, we both had a pandemic and, uprising against police brutality. I found that very interesting that like, this AP textbook, that's supposed to be this big overview, didn't mention these two major events in history. So, I mean, I think in terms of like stuff that's in, it largely just comes down to with something like that. I honestly think it was really just like over, like they just didn't really like kind of like they were just kind of rushed and like it's stuff you have to remember on a test. So like you don't do analysis. You need dates and you need numbers and stuff like that. And like that stuff you usually don't put on there. But like other things, obviously like I don't think we ever like Lombard West. I don't think we ever had like people not want to put stuff in textbooks with like stuff like that. Yeah, it was like the AP stuff. It was really just like kind of down to like stuff has to be cut for time. But, like obviously like around the country, I think more recently there's been controversies over what's in textbooks and what's not, and I think that's more like obviously political reasons stuff like that. People don't want to teach a specific history, and that I'd say is more like yeah politically motivated stuff like that. But honestly, like I haven't, in my opinion, like I read a bunch and so like and go out and seek stuff. So like I haven't really run into other than that case, the AP textbook. I haven't really run into any issues with like stuff being purposely cut. That's it.
You were mentioning the political kind of ties to history, and in a way removing history that doesn't or removing parts of history or data that just doesn't back um the narrative or something that they're trying to push. And I don't know, did you see that New York Times article about the CDC that was not releasing certain data because it didn't go along with their viewpoints?
I believe so. Yeah.
So like that to me is, it's like terrifying in a way, is just that the biggest health organization in the world can just be like, yeah, this data not really doing what I want it to say, so I'm just gonna like, whoop, put it away. And just wild. Like how dangerous is losing portions of history to politics?
Yeah. I mean, I should say like I think history always like it's always something that's up for interpretation. Like there is, I'd say, no like 100%. Like even history like that I read, I guess that's technically that somebody's interpreting that. So like there is, I'd say like there's like an effort some people make like trying to find like 100% like apolitical history, and like that's honestly kind of impossible to do. Like you're always gonna have somebody giving a viewpoint. We're people at the end of the day. But I'd say like largely like yeah stuff like that. It's like I always like kind of push back against like that stuff because it's like, it's a historical record. You need to keep that stuff. Even if it's something like boring, like you need to protect these things. It's always kind of critical, like to kind of read these things and stuff like that. Because like, I don't want to be like cliche and be like you can repeat things, but like it's failing to do like analysis and like do like learn. I learn from mistakes. That's the cliche.